This conference will now be recorded.
Yes.
Not sure. Laptop is little slow today. For example, I'll declare a class A and I'll make it as an abstract. Okay. I'll be having a method called void m1, which is an abstract method, void m2, which is an abstract method, right? And we have an empty called void m3, which is nothing but a non-abstract method where we have a logic, right? I'm writing inside m3 of A. So I'll be having a class B which extends your A, right? So assume that, so now it is the B's responsibility to write the logic for M1 and M2. Am I right? So for M3 it is not mandatory because M3 is not an abstract method, right? So but assume that your B only knows the logic of M1, it does not know the logic of M2. So generally why this abstraction is nothing but, for example, you have to call some API, or not like API, you need some functionalities to be achieved. So but you don't know that logic, how that implementation happens, right? So whenever you do not know that implementation happens, you declare that as an abstract method, and the class which extends it will be writing the logic for it. So how can I tell something real time example? I'm just telling this as an example, but it is applicable for interface as well as for your abstract class. 1 minute. Sorry. So, for example, you are designing an API which is going to return the available flights, right? So, like API, so assume that you are trying to go design an app, or you have a class which will tell what are the flights that are available from this destination to another from this source to this destination, like from India to US or whatever the place. So but that flights information will not be there at your place, right? So you do not know what are the flights. You need to call some flight authority, you need to they should be implementing it. So you will be declaring that as an abstract at your place, and that particular class, they will be implementing it and providing a logic. So it is not exact real-time scenario, but I'm trying to compare it. Like for example, whenever you write in a class and you have 10 methods, right? So but you're not you don't know the logic of some 5 methods, right? So what are the 5 methods that you are not sure about the logic? You will be making that methods as an abstract, right? But it means that that implementation has to done, right? For example, you are trying to create some booking or creating some action. That action has to done, but you are not sure what exactly the code I need to write in that action. So you make that method as an abstract method. So the class which knows that action will able to extend it your abstract class and will be writing a logic for it. So here you have a class B. So in this, for example, you have a class A as an abstract class where it can able to write the logic for M3 only. As you know, there are three methods, but it knows only the logic of M3, but yeah, it is not sure about M1 and M2. So we have declared that as an abstract methods. So even whenever you see class B extends A, it is not, so the what is a mandatory condition? If any class which extends your abstract class, it has to override all the abstract methods present in it. Am I right? But it is not sure about this, how to implement this M1 and M2. So then it knows only the logic of M1. So what it will do, it will write void M1, it will override void M1. I'll not do overriding of void M2. Then what I need to do? So generally, if you do not override, you will get an error, right? But I do not know the logic of M2 and I will not override it. So in that case, what I should make for a class B? Any query? Any idea? The question is like a B should override M1 and M2. That is for sure. Why? Because they are abstract methods. A class which extends an abstract class has to override all the abstract methods. Like non-mandatory to override your non-abstract method, that is M3. But your B knows only M1 logic, right? If you do not override M2, it will throw compile time error. So then what I can do? I can make your B also an abstract class. Am I right? So now internally, what is this parent-child inheritance? Whatever the properties that is available in A will be inherited to B, right? So internally, M2 is also present in your B as an abstract. Now, why I declared this an abstract? Because I have not overridden M2. If I overridden M2, I will not declare it as an abstract, right? So still you cannot able to create the object of your B. So I'll have another class B which extends your B. Now can you tell me which method is mandatory to be overridden, M1, M2 or M3? Which method is mandatory here to override in class C?
M2.
Yes, exactly M2, because the logic was not written for M2. So if you are not overriding, you should make this class C also an abstract, but no such in that I need to override this.
With M1 and M2, there should be abstract keyword written, bro.
Yes, yes, exactly. It should be abstract keyword. If it is not, it will throw an error.
Okay.
Thanks. So here you can override M3 also. That is not like the mandatory you cannot override, but I can override M3 also here. I'll just try to. You can override M1 also, not an issue. I will override M1 still. I do not want that logic. But overriding of this is mandatory. If not, it will throw an error. But I can override other methods also. Inside M1 of C. So here also I can override my M3 method. So here B class, I'm overriding M3 method, even though you have the logic in A, but I do not want that logic to be executed in some case. So I'm overriding this M3. System.out.println inside M3 of B. So in these three classes, which class object I can able to create? A, B, or C?
C.
C class, because this is nothing but your non-abstract method. I cannot create the object of your abstract. So assume that I have a main method. I'm not writing fully syntaxes, and I just created an object of C, and I'll call C dot M2, C dot M1, C dot M3. Now can you tell me which M1, which M2, which M3 will be executed? I'll send this code on. Think it will not, you cannot see that in chat. Okay. I think you can see it in the chart, right? I've sent you. So C dot M2, C dot M1, and C dot M3 I have called. And can you tell me which M1, which M2, which M3 will be executed? Can you tell me the output? And you can just type it in the chat also if you want.
Can you reduce the font?
Okay, you want to reduce this font or increase this font?
Reduce. I mean to say we are not the entire program.
Okay, okay. In the chat, I'll send you totally anyway.
Okay.
Okay, fine. You want me to reduce still more?
This is okay.
Okay, fine. Aravind has answered. So still anyone?
It will be inside M2 of C, then inside
Okay.
M1 of C,
Yes.
then inside M3 of B.
Okay. Exactly. So I hope it is clear for everyone. Even Aravind, you also said it. What the right answer? Like yes. Why? Because when you're trying to create an object of M2, first what happens? It will go to the child class and see whether the method is available or not. Yes, it is available and it will execute. If not, it will go to its corresponding parent. And when you call c.m1, okay, yes, it will go to this place and it will see yes, the method is available and it will execute this part. And when you call c.m3, yeah, there is no M3 method over here. So where it will do, it will go to the parent. Who is the parent corresponding parent of your C? That is your B. And it will execute that B method which is present over here. that is nothing but inside M3 of B. Assume that if you do not add the logic of this M2 M1 here, it will go and call your M1 in A. It will execute M1 in A. If you do not have M3, it will be calling your M3 in A. I think you got that flow. Yes. Okay. And we started with interfaces, right, yesterday? So what is an okay, I think we have not discussed it. So see how you have an abstract class. We have a concept called interface in Java. So what is this interface is nothing but for example, in abstract class, so this is the syntax of declaration of syntax interface. Interface, this is a keyword. How you have an abstract is a keyword. Your interface is also in a keyword. Interface, and I can just tell interface name, some A, some XYZ, anything. So this is nothing but my interface name. And your interface will have only the abstract classes, and it will not have a normal. Sorry, your interface will have only the abstract methods. It will not have the normal methods. So in abstract class, you have normal methods also, but in case of interface, it is allowed to write only your abstract methods. You're not allowed to write the normal methods. So interface, some A. So for how we'll be declaring, we'll be writing a method like void. But if you are trying to write the logic, it will throw me an error. So as in case of abstracting, you can write normal classes, but here it is not at all allowed as per Java 1.8. Sorry, 1.7. Like the 1.8 has some other features. We'll discuss it later if the time permits. But as of 1.7, it is not allowed to write a normal methods in interface. Only the abstract methods are available at interface. And whatever the method I declared in it will be an abstract method. So writing an abstract keyword is not mandatory. It is if you write it or you do not write it, it will be taking as an abstract method only. Why? Because you do not have any normal methods, right? Has like your abstract class. So that is the reason writing an abstract keyword is not mandatory. By default, whatever the method that you declare is an abstract method, and you are not allowed to write a normal method. So in abstract class, who is going to write the logic for an abstract class? The class which extends it, right? But in interface, you cannot do that extends. In interface, you will be doing an implementation. So who is going to write the logic for this abstract method is nothing but the class which implements your interface. So I'll have a class some B which implements my A. So for an abstract class, you do extends. For interface, you do implements. So implements is nothing but the keyword, which is predefined keyword, which will be used to implement your interface. So what is the meaning of implementation? Is nothing but your P is responsible of writing all the abstract methods, for logic for all abstract methods which are presented in here A. And it means it is going to override all the abstract methods. For example, I have 3 abstract methods or 2 abstract methods. So now, as of now, I have 2 abstract methods. Same rule. Your B is responsible of overriding all these 2 abstract methods. So here I should be overriding M1 as well as M2. If I don't override any one of the methods, it will throw me an error. If I have 10 methods, overriding 10 methods is mandatory. And if you override 9 and if you do not override one also, it will throw an error. So how many you have, that many methods, overriding is mandatory. So can we create an object of an abstract class? Obviously no. So the same way, you cannot create an object of your interface also. So the class which implements for which class we do implementation only, we will be able to create an object. Okay.
Can we have data member variables also abstract?
Yes, 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 but they will be fine.
Okay.
Whatever the variable that you declared will be a fine. You can also variables also in your interface. So I'm taking a class called interface example, which is nothing but my interface I'm taking. So you can have directly how you are creating a class, you have an interface option also. You can select that, which will give that interface. Example. So void m1. Here writing abstract is optional. You can write an abstract or you can do without abstract also. Why? Because all the methods in this is nothing but an abstract methods. Can I write a normal method? Not. If I, for example, I am trying to write a normal method in 3, so it will throw me an error. Abstract methods do not specify a body, so by default, it is whatever the method that you declare, it should be taking as an abstract. And how I just have to implement this? So some class B implements interface ex. I can write. So it is saying what is an error. This ABC class has to extend this M1 and M2. That is an error. You can see inherit that M1 and M2. As I told you, this is the responsibility to write logic for all the your abstract methods. Void M1 and void. Okay, I have overriding void M1 and void M2, right? But still there was an error. Can you tell me what is this error? I have overridden this M1 and M2, but still there was an error. Can someone guess why this error is coming? Okay, I have not told you the concept anyway, but this error will go now. Now, can you tell me the reason? Whenever you are trying to do overriding, and when you keep it as public, this error is going. A rule whenever you do overriding, access specifier rule. If I remove this public, it will have that error.
Because it is default.
So a default can be overridden a default, right? So that's what you are telling, right? Aravind, or sorry, who is that
Yes,
person?
yes. Arvind.
Okay. Okay, but here the thing is in interface it is not default, it is public. For example, the thing is you have not declared it as an abstract, right? You have not declared this method as an abstract. You have declared it. So whatever the case, it is abstract, right? So by default, it is not default in interface. So in generally in any class, if you are not writing any access specifier in a class before a method, that is default. But when it comes to interface, it is public. So you are not allowed to write even private protected default at your interface level, in interface the method level. So whether you write a public or do not write it, this method is a public method. How similarly like your abstract, whether you write an abstract keyword or you don't write, this method is abstract keyword, right? Same like whether you write a public or do not write it, this is by default it is public method. So you see I'm trying to write it as a private, so it will not be allowed. I will write it as a protected, it is not allowed. Only public is the one which is allowed at the interface level, right? So can you tell me why they have kept only public is the allowed one, and why they kept the private default, they kept that not allowing for a abstract method which is present in interface? Can you tell the reason for this? You understood why now this error is coming, and when you do overriding, why it is coming? So by default it is public, so you are not allowed to reduce the access specifier. So if you are not keeping it is default in a class level, if you are not keeping anything before a method, it is a default. So that is the reason your public is mandatory here. Okay. Sorry, someone is telling something. Okay, my question is why this rule has kept? Why only public is allowed at interface level? Antur or someone like
Yeah, because while inheriting, we cannot make any method which is accessible, more accessible before and to less accessible after implementing. So it is mandatory to make it the same access specifier, or we can make even more accessible for the child class, in the child class.
yes, exactly. The reason is like you cannot reduce the accessibility, and that's the reason you are making this as public. Exactly right. You cannot reduce the visibility. So my question is here, why they are not allowing private? Why they are not allowing other access specifier? Why by default they have given public for an abstract method? So why private is not allowed at interface level? Why protected is not allowed? And why
You
even the
cannot
default?
you cannot implement those methods or abstract methods because it's an interface and outside of that interface. That's the major importance of interface, right?
Yes, exactly. So that's what I was trying to. So like I was trying to make that the concept are related, right? Exactly right. Very good. So the concept of interface is nothing but someone has to override this methods, right? So I have written this ABC class in the same package or somewhere, but generally this interface can be implemented by n number of classes, right? Some class may be outside the package, so generally it will be outside the package only when you do the real-time scenarios. Whenever it is outside the package, so what is the rule for what is the rule that you can able to access that method? That method should be public, right? If it is if it is private or default, you cannot access it, right? So there is contradicting the rule, right? The rule for interface is nothing but you need to override it. You are overriding this interface outside the class, but if assume that if your method is a private or protected or default, you cannot get that method. So which is not at all acceptable, like which is two rules are contradicting, and that's the reason they put that the allowed access specifiers to an abstract method is nothing but only the public. That's it. So I was trying to link the concepts and get it. Thank you. I think you are clear, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
clear.
Inside M2 of ABC. So the class which will be implemented, it can be able to provide the logic here, right? So generally it cannot be in the same package. It can be somewhere also. So this interface can be implemented by n number of classes. It is not mandatory that it has to implement only by one class, right? So this abstract, the logic for this M1 and M2 can be provided by some other classes, right? So I'll take some class XYZ, even that can able to do this implements. It's your interface. So why the error? The same. It has to override all non-abstract methods. Okay. So when you create an object, again the same thing. You are not allowed to create an object of your. You're not allowed to create an object of your interface, and you will be able to create only this object of this child classes. I have a main method over here. See that if I'm trying to create an object of your interface. Will show an error that you cannot able to initiate the interface. So here it can have one more method also, right? Something like void empty, which is not present in your other classes. Okay. For example, if I want to call the method which is present in M1, which is present in XYZ, so what I need to do? I have an M1 method in XYZ as well as ABC. So if I want to call an M1 method which is present in XYZ. So then what I need to do? I need to create an object of XYZ, right? Which will call XYZ method, right? So here it is not like you see, there is no relationship between your XYZ and ABC. Relationship between that is nothing but you're not a relationship like your child and parent, right? So can you create ABC object and can be held by XYZ? Can you do like that? No, I cannot. Why? Because whenever it is a child and parent relationship only, you can do it. So I need to create XYZ. And I'll call XYZ dot. You see, it will allow you to call M1, M3, and M2, which will execute your M1 method over here. Whenever you want to call ABC thing, we'll be creating an ABC object and we will be dot M1, which will execute M1 in ABC, which will execute your M1 in XYZ. So you are not having a run method, so that's the reason you cannot main method. Here I'm creating XYZ object and holding with XYZ. If I'm creating an ABC object, I'm holding with ABC. So can I create ABC object, sorry, XYZ object and hold with ABC? I cannot do like this, right? Because there is no relation and you are not allowed. Your typecasting is not at all possible. There is no relationship between your XYZ and ABC directly, right? One minute. But you can create an interface object. So this is like your dynamic binding. We'll see what is this EX, and you can able to create an object here XYZ. You can able to, this is called your dynamic binding. We'll see what is this exactly. So this I am calling as nothing but from this EX, if I call M1 method, which M1 will execute, whether M1 in XYZ or M1 in ABC?
XYZ.
Because you created XYZ object. Can you give me 5 minutes? I'll be back. Okay. Yes. Please give me 5 minutes. Okay, I'm back. Sorry for. Can you hear me? Actually, I have just now I came. I was in.
Yes,
Now
Sujit.
can you hear me, right? Now can you hear me, right? Anil or anyone?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. So if I want to call M1 method which is present in ABC, what I'll be doing? X1 dot ABC. Sorry, X1 dot, right? EX1 dot. Right? So it will not execute the M1 interface. It is going to execute the M1 method in your XYZ as well as your ABC. So this is nothing but both the steps you are calling. This is nothing but your static binding. This one and this one is nothing but your static binding. We'll see what is that, why then I'm calling it as static binding and dynamic binding. So which is very important, like when you learn any other further concepts also. This one is nothing but your dynamic binding. So I'll try to tell you this with some other example that can be able to. I'll tell it in Notepad. You can able to please put it in your code wise actually. Assume that I have an interface called RBA. Same interface examples. So you know that RBI is something like Reserve Bank of India, which is present in India, which will have some rules. And so why generally interface is nothing but interface is the one where it is going to specify some rules, right? Whatever the rules that interface has to be specified, which will be followed by the classes which implements it, right? So it is nothing but it will not provide the logic. It will tell, okay, this is a rule that has to be provided, that has to be implemented, so which has to be followed by all the banks or something else. So for example, what interface will tell is nothing but we'll have a method, assume that with withdraw and loan, void withdraw and void some deposit, right? So bank may have a lot of functionalities, but what RBI is telling that you should, whenever you are trying to establish a new bank, that this functionalities is mandatory, and but it will not tell what is a logic that withdraw has to write, what is a logic that deposit has to write it, right? It is specific to its own bank, right? So for example, a class HDFC I will take, so which will do the implements of your RBI, right? So in this case, what are the mandatory methods that has to override by HDFC? It is nothing but your withdraw and your so it can have its own logic. For example, I can write a logic like per day you can withdraw. I'm just writing a logic per day you can withdraw some 20,000, something like this, right? It should be writing a logic for your deposit also. And here the logic you may write per day deposit can be, per day you can deposit something like 50,000, right? So same like you have something like class called IDBI, which again implements your RBI, the same rule. So overriding of methods is mandatory writing. So your HDFC can have its extra methods, like it can able to provide the loan or something else, but it is not like mandatory that it so but I'm just telling as an example. Any method you can have, but bank has imposed you should have these two methods like withdraw and deposit for sure. The same like for IDBI also it will be the same. Like you have void withdraw. So, but the logic may be different from IDBI to HDFC, right? So, for example, it may having a withdraw of 20,000. It have per day withdraw of some 30,000. So what am I trying to tell is nothing but interface will enforce you to write the logic, provide the implementation, but it will not tell you what the logic that you want. Based on your requirement, you will be writing it. But having that functionality with withdraw and deposit is mandatory for all the banks, which has to establish, which has to implement, which has to come whenever they implement this RPA. The same favor the deposit also. Per day it can be some 60,000. This may be the logic, right? I have something like a class, some driver I'm taking, some normal class where I have a main method. The same concept. So whenever you want to call the withdraw which is present in HDFC, what I should be doing? HDFC, so HDFC equals to new and HDFC dot withdraw, which will call the withdraw method which is present in the HDFC, right? Same way when you want to do it for IDBI, you will be doing it the same. So you cannot create HDFC object and hold by IDBI, and you cannot create IDBI object and hold by HDFC. So there is no relationship, but you can able to create an RBI object, RBI reference. This is nothing but RBI reference, and I can able to create HDFC object or IDBI object at runtime, right? So it can be HDFC or it can be IDBI. So this is nothing but your dynamic binding, which is very, very important. And I'll tell you why it is also like whenever you see a lot of concepts like many things were built based on this dynamic binding. That is nothing but a parent can hold your child object, right? You will create, so it can at the runtime we are not sure, right? So it can be HDFC, it can be IDBI, it can be some access, whatever the bank. So all the objects can be held by RBI. So generally in real time, you will not hardcode like this. You will pass it from XMLs or you will be passing it runtime. So based on the user input, right? It is not only the bank, but I'm telling for bank, but when you see real time example, it can be very, so something like I can tell RBI to here one which will have an IDBI. So if I want to call a withdraw in HDFC, what I'll do? RBI one dot withdraw. Right? I think you're clear with this, but I'll tell you why I'm calling this as a static binding and why I'm calling this as a dynamic binding. So there are two things here. One is nothing but this part you can consider it as LHS, and this part is nothing but your RHS, right? So this part will happen at compile time. This will happen at runtime. So
So, by
Sorry,
any chance, do you have any presentation ready for this session, or a deck or something for presentation?
presentation, like you are talking PPTs.
Yeah, PPT.
Okay, I do not had it for abstract concept. I had it for other concept. I'll share whatever I had it.
No problem. Just for the reference and to
Yes, yes.
just a brush up. Yeah.
Yes, got it. Anil, you asked something. Interface and abstract both requires implementation of the method by its child class. Any specific difference in terms of their usage? Yes, there is a difference between the usage of interface and abstract, but the main, when you go for abstract class, is nothing but the logic for some of the methods, right? As I told you, like you are trying to do an API, like it has 10 methods, right? But you know the logic for 5 methods and you're not sure about the logic of another 5 methods, right? So then you will take a choice of abstract where you will declare 5 methods as an abstract where you are not sure about the logic, and you will write the logic for another 5 methods, right? And when it comes to interface, that is you don't know the logic of all the 10 methods. All the 10 methods should be declared as an interface. So based on that requirement, you will go it, and whenever you take an interface, that can be supported by class. A class can extend interface as well as it can able to, for example, a class can do implementation of A and B interfaces, right? But extension cannot done for A and B. So that is also one of the difference. Okay, right, Anand? Okay, thank you. Leisure auntie. So your interface RBI is having these methods, right? And when you do your HDFC is having this is a class HDFC, and you have withdraw here, right? So there are two parts. Whenever you do HDFC, some HDFC goes to new HDFC. So this left side LHS, I'm calling it as compile time. This right side, I'm calling it as runtime. So there are two things that you do in whenever you write any program, right? One is nothing but you will be doing a compiling, which will check any syntax, and you will be executing. That is nothing but it will execute and produce output at runtime. So whenever I see, I call HDFC dot withdraw. So what compiler will do at compile time is nothing but it is going to bind with the reference variable, reference class that is present at the left side. So whenever you see HDFC.withdraw, whenever your compiler sees this, so what is the reference class that is available at left side? That is HDFC. So what happens? It is going to bind with the withdraw which is present in your HDFC, right? Why? Because at the left side you have an HDFC. Right? So at compile time, it is going to bind with the method which is present over here. This is happening at compile time binding. Compile time binding. So it is going to thought that okay, it is going to execute the method which is present at HDFC address. And at runtime, what happens? Whatever the object that you created, that method is going to be executed at the runtime. So at runtime, what object you created? HDFC. So what method will be executed at runtime? Withdraw, which is present in the HDFC, right? So at runtime, it is going to execute the method which is present in the HDFC only. At runtime. Method execution. So is there any change from compile time to runtime? No. So at compile time, whatever the method that compiler has binded, the same method was executed at runtime. So whatever the method that got binded at compile time, it got binded with withdraw method. Why? Because at left side you have HDFC. So what method it executed? It executed the method of withdraw, which in HDFC. Why? Because you have created HDFC object. So there is no change from the compile time to runtime, and whatever the method it binded, the same method got executed at runtime. That is the reason you call this is nothing but your static. There is no change. That is nothing but you're calling it as static binding. Is this clear? Why I'm calling this as static binding? So now you'll be telling why I'm calling it as dynamic binding also. Hope you are clear with this, right? So now in this case, when I call RBI.withdraw, whether which method it will bind? It will bind with the withdraw which is present in RBI or withdraw which is present in HDFC. At compile time, asking. What happened? Not clear with this, or no replies? Anil or Antu or Aravind?
Yeah, sorry.
I was asking a question like when I call RBI.withdraw, whether it will bind with the withdraw which is present in RBI or withdraw which is present in HDFC.
Will bind with HDFC.
So you're not listening to this. No. So what I was telling, you see, HDFC new equals to HDFC, right? So there are two things that will happen at compiler. So whenever you write any program, there are two things. One is nothing but you will do compiling, and one more is nothing but you will be executing, right? So here you are creating a HDFC object, and which reference you are holding? In this case, you are holding with HDFC, right? And this is going to happen at compile time. So when I call HDFC.withdraw, what happens? Your compiler will check what is the reference class that is available at the left side. So that is nothing but HDFC, right? So now what happens? Your compiler is going to bind with the HDFC method withdraw method that is present in the HDFC. And this right hand LHS side is nothing but happens at runtime. So at runtime, what object we created? We created the withdraw object that is present in HDFC. So it is going to execute the withdraw method which is present in the which is present in the HDFC. So this is at runtime. So this is at compile time. So compile time, whatever the method it got binded, the same method got executed at the runtime. Right, whatever the method the compiler got binded, the same method only executed at the runtime. There is no change from the compile time to runtime. So that is the reason I am calling this as nothing but the static binding. So the same way here I am having RBI new equals to new HDFC. Now we are creating HDFC object, but this HDFC object is holding by an RBI. So your parent is holding the child object, right? So whenever I say RBI dot withdraw, so which method it is going to bind? Whether it is going to bind with the withdraw with this or withdraw with this now.
While compiling, it will bind with RBI withdraw.
Yes, exactly. With compiling, and that's what I'm explaining. Compiler, it is going to bind with the withdraw because you have RBI at left side. So this happens at compile time. But at runtime, which method it will execute? It will execute withdraw in RBI or withdraw in HDFC? It will execute withdraw in HDFC. Am I right? Because
Yes.
you created HDFC object. So this will happen at runtime. So is there any change from compile time to runtime? Yes. It compiled time, whatever the method it got binded, it unbinded and it executed the method which is present in withdraw. At compile time, it binded with withdraw in RBI, but at runtime, it executed withdraw in HDFC. So that is nothing but a dynamic. So there is a change from runtime to compile time to runtime. That's the reason you call it as dynamic binding or dynamic polymorphism. Is the terminology clear why I'm calling it as dynamic binding and dynamic polymorphism? So you will be getting to know, like for example, when you go for in detail, like whenever you see exception handling, multi-threading, or some servlets concepts and all this, you'll be getting to know these things very clearly. So tomorrow we'll be seeing some servlets, and mostly I'll try to wind up the class tomorrow or day after tomorrow. So we'll have 2 sessions or 1 more session. So one request, tomorrow I think for me 7 is not possible. Shall we connect by 8:30 or 9 tomorrow? I think it is Saturday. I hope for most of you also will not have offices. Can you, if not, can you tell me the comfortable time? Is that 8:30, 9 is fine? 9 o'clock? 9 a.m. or evening also fine for me.
June 2.
My dad is the one with pretty much broke. Maybe we can work something out. My friend Lila, with the drums, I play bass.
Okay. Aravind is telling evening.
The tones and
For others, what is that comfortable timings? Can you please tell me?
for free. For the listener. You interested?
Venkat, background noise, can you please? So Venkat or Anil, can you please tell me what is your comfortable timings? And like 9 is fine, morning 9 is fine, or evening will connect? Aravind is telling evening. So mostly I'll try to wind it tomorrow. Okay, morning. Fine. Then morning 8, 9 is fine. 9 a.m. is fine.
Yes.
Okay. What about others? Okay. Okay, 7 to 8. Okay, tomorrow Saturday still office. 7 to 8, Anil. I didn't get like, is 9 a.m. fine for you, Anil, or now? Okay, thank you. Weekend, right? Okay. Okay, I'll just update in the group. So mostly we'll try to connect by 9 then. Aravind, most of us are okay with 9 only, so we'll see. Okay, I'll just update in the group. Thank you. Based on that, we'll be connecting it. Okay, thank you all. I'll wind up the session.
Thank you.
Thank you.